I want you to imagine, just for a second, your absolute favorite meal. Like maybe it's a huge, crunchy, vibrant salad loaded with fresh vegetables, or maybe a thick, incredibly hearty stew.
Oh, yeah, something really substantial.
Exactly. So you
Mhm.
sit down, you take a bite, you chew, you swallow. It is, the most normal, natural sequence of events in the human experience.
Right, it's just eating.
Just eating. But what if everything you thought you knew about eating, the chewing, the digesting, the very act of breaking down that solid food,
Hmm.
was actually a form of internal violence?
It's a pretty wild premise to start with.
It really is. What if that totally normal everyday process is actually a massive disruption to your body's natural harmony? Welcome to today's deep dive.
Hmm.
Today we are exploring a really fascinating and frankly intense source.
Oh, very
It's
intense.
the Somatic Liquid Only Cookbook.
Yeah.
And I need to set the record straight right up front for you listening. This is not a deep dive into another fad diet.
No, definitely not.
Right. This is not like a 10-day juice cleanse designed to help you drop 5 pounds before a beach vacation.
Yeah.
This source describes itself as a coherence-based nutritional system.
Yeah, strictly focused on zero solids, organic inputs, and nonviolence.
Our mission today is to explore this profound state shift. The foundational principle here is that consumption is a relationship, right? It's not just an intake mechanism.
Absolutely.
The ultimate goal is to understand how shifting to a totally frictionless, completely liquid system aims to create this continuous, unbroken line between the substance you consume and your actual self.
And achieving that requires us to completely unlearn what we define as normal eating. I mean, the central argument of the text is that the moment you introduce solid food, you are introducing fragmentation.
Fragmentation.
Yeah, you are forcing the body to deal with separate, complex physical objects that just do not belong inside it yet.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit on behalf of anyone listening who is thinking exactly what I thought when I first read the intro.
Yep.
Isn't chewing literally the most natural thing in the world? Like, we have molars for grinding up tough plant matter.
Sure, we evolved that way.
Right. And we have stomach acid designed to dissolve protein. It just feels strange to call standard biology violence.
It does sound extreme at first glance.
But, the further I got into the text, the more I started to picture the mechanics of it differently.
Hmm.
We usually treat eating like throwing logs into an industrial wood chipper.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. It's loud, it's forceful, it's highly episodic. You dump a massive load of physical material in,
Hmm.
the blades spin, the engine roars, it takes a massive amount of energy to process, and then it just shuts down until the next load is dumped in.
And this system argues that this episodic wood chipper dynamic is a violent interruption to our body's baseline state of rest.
Exactly.
If you take that wood chipper idea a step further into actual physiology, think about the sheer energetic cost of running it.
It's exhausting.
It really is. When you eat a heavy, solid meal, your parasympathetic nervous system has to take over. Blood is literally shunted away from your extremities and your brain, pooling in your digestive tract to fuel the mechanical and chemical breakdown of that food.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your body has to mount a massive energetic response to separate the usable nutrients from the useless fiber, the pulp, the sediment.
So it's pulling the log apart to find the matchsticks.
Yes. That separation process is the mechanical violence the text refers to. By moving to a fully liquid system, the goal is to entirely remove the breakdown phase. You completely bypass the wood chipper.
So if we completely shut down the wood chipper, what does the system actually look like instead?
Well, the source calls it a continuous somatic field.
A continuous somatic field, okay.
Right. When there is no physical breakdown required, the boundary between the nourishment and your body starts to dissolve the very moment you consume it.
Because it's already liquid.
Exactly. Because the substance is already in a state of complete fluidity, it doesn't need to be, attacked by stomach acid or mechanically churned by the intestines.
Right.
It is about increasing the continuity between the substance and the body. You are shifting the entire biological focus from force to absorption. You aren't digesting anymore, you are simply integrating.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we stop throwing logs into the wood chipper, how do we actually fuel the machine?
That's the big question.
Right, and this system completely throws out the traditional food pyramid. There's no concept of a grain section or a protein section or dairy.
Not at all.
Instead, the source introduces what it calls the ontology of liquid nutrition.
Such a fascinating term.
It really is. It categorizes everything you consume, not by its ingredients, but strictly by its somatic function. It treats the human body less like a biological furnace that just burns whatever you throw in, and more like a highly tuned, um, delicate electrical and chemical grid.
And building and maintaining that electrical grid requires specific components. The text breaks these down into 6 distinct fields.
6 fields.
Yeah. And if we look at them logically, the first 2 fields are entirely about establishing the physical hardware of the grid itself. That's the hydration field and the mineral field.
Okay, so the hardware.
All right. The hydration field is meant to establish baseline conductivity and cellular openness. But we are not just talking about chugging tap water to quench your thirst.
Oh, definitely not. Tap water would be a huge no-no here.
Huge. The text demands structured water, which usually means spring water or water passed through specific filtration vortexes.
Vortexes, yeah.
And completely strained herbal infusions.
But water alone doesn't conduct electricity very well without minerals.
Yeah.
Which is where the mineral field comes in.
Exactly.
This is specifically for electrical stability and grounding. The text describes highly clarified, completely transparent vegetable broths or structured water with trace amounts of sea minerals that are 100% dissolved.
It provides the literal conductive material so the water can actually transmit signals across your cellular network.
Once the grid is established, you need to power it right.
Yeah.
That brings us to the energy sources, the glucose field and the lipid field.
Which is where things get really precise.
Yeah, the glucose field is for immediate, highly usable energy. But this is where the system has to navigate a biological tightrope. It uses fresh pressed fruit juices, but the rules are incredibly strict.
Very strict.
The juice must be triple filtered and heavily diluted, sometimes at a 1-to-1 ratio, but that's structured water we just talked about.
Which is such an interesting workaround.
It is, because I was initially so skeptical of this part. In normal nutrition, we are constantly told that drinking fruit juice is terrible because you are removing the fiber.
Right. The fiber slows down the sugar spike.
Exactly. The fiber prevents your blood sugar from going crazy. Since fiber is a solid, and solids are strictly forbidden in this system, aren't you just asking for a massive blood sugar spike?
You'd think so, but the text is hyper aware of that exact danger. It refers to it as glycemic shock.
Glycemic shock.
Yeah. An aggressive spike of sugar requires a massive insulin response, which is a massive disruption to the system, a form of internal friction.
And friction is the enemy here.
Totally. That is precisely why the heavy dilution is mandatory. Without the physical matrix of fiber to act as a slow release mechanism, you have to manually recreate that slow release by diluting the glucose with structured water.
Ah, I see.
By triple filtering and heavily cutting the juice, you get a slow, clean trickle of immediate energy that integrates seamlessly without shocking the grid.
But a clean trickle of diluted fruit juice isn't going to get you through a strenuous day. I mean, you need sustained power, which is the purpose of the lipid field.
Right, the fats.
Yeah, this focuses on sustained energy and hormonal balance using cold-pressed oils. Now, you don't just take a shot of olive oil. The text requires the oils to be perfectly emulsified into a liquid carrier.
Emulsification is key here, because oil and water naturally repel each other.
Right.
If you just drink oil, it pools and clumps in the digestive tract, requiring the liver and gallbladder to work overtime, pumping out bile to break those fat molecules apart.
Which is more of that violence.
Exactly. Again, that's friction. By mechanically emulsifying the cold-pressed oil with a liquid carrier beforehand, breaking the fat down into microscopic micelles before it ever enters your mouth, you're basically doing the gallbladder's work outside the body.
Oh, wow. So the sustained energy simply glides into the bloodstream.
Precisely. It's frictionless.
Which leaves us with the final 2 fields dedicated to the maintenance and repair of the grid, the amino field, and the enzymatic field.
The building blocks.
Yeah, since you aren't eating meat or solid legumes, tissue maintenance and repair comes from the amino field. You're talking about extremely refined plant-based broths.
Very refined.
The preparation involves slow steeping plant material in warm, never boiling water and straining it repeatedly until you are left with a clear, transparent, slightly savory liquid. They also rely heavily on fully filtered fermented liquid amino extracts.
And complementing that is the enzymatic field, which governs transformation and internal movement. You source this from raw, highly active, enzyme-rich juices like pure cucumber or celery that are strained completely.
Which sounds refreshing, actually.
It is, but enzymes are the biological catalysts that make every chemical reaction in your body happen. The catch is that these raw enzymatic liquids are highly volatile and very short-lived.
And that short-lived aspect brings us to the harsh reality of this cookbook.
Yeah.
Categorizing these 6 fields is just the underlying philosophy.
Right. The theory is the easy part.
Yeah, the actual execution is where the true unforgiving rigor of the system reveals itself. I mean, I was reading through these preparation methods thinking I could just hack this system.
Oh no, you can't hack it.
I learned that quickly. I thought, well, I'll just make my morning green smoothie. I'll throw some spinach, some apple, and some water in a high-speed blender, hit pulverize and boom liquid.
Nope.
But the book has a massive section explicitly forbidding smoothies. Here's where it gets really interesting. Why are smoothies out?
Yeah. Well, a smoothie, according to the Coherence standard laid out in the text, is absolutely not a liquid. It is a suspension of microscopic solids.
Oh, man.
The blender doesn't remove the fiber, it just chops it up into millions of tiny pieces. The wood chipper is just smaller.
That is such a crucial distinction. The text lays out these absolute laws of preparation, and Law 1 is no fragmentation residue.
None at all.
Every single liquid must pass through extreme fine filtration. We are talking about pouring your juice through a fine net milk bag and then pouring that yield through secondary, even finer filters.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. Absolutely no pulp, no seeds, no skins, no sediment. It has to look like a polished gemstone.
The biological reasoning for Law 1 goes back to the concept of continuity. When those millions of microscopic blended spinach fibers hit your digestive tract, your body still has to recognize them as solid matter.
It still has to process them.
Exactly. It still has to deal with them. The immune system inspects them. The gut has to physically move them. The internal friction, while smaller in scale, is still entirely present.
So it fails the test.
Completely. To meet the Coherence standard, a liquid must produce zero internal resistance upon consumption. Any texture, any heaviness, any physical reaction at all means the substance is deemed incoherent.
Which leads directly into Law 2, low thermal distortion. This law strictly forbids high heat. The clear amino broths we discussed earlier are slow steeped in warm water.
Boiling is completely out of the question.
Right, and I understand wanting to keep things raw. But what is the actual mechanism here? Why does the text view boiling water as a violation of coherence?
It comes down to the physical structure of the proteins and enzymes within the plants. When you expose a raw plant to boiling water, the extreme heat physically changes its cellular structure.
It cooks it.
Right, it denatures the proteins, meaning they unravel and lose their specific functional shape. An enzyme is only active because of its three-dimensional shape. If you boil it, it flattens out and becomes biologically inert.
Oh, I see.
The text views that dead, denatured material as just another form of friction. You want to extract the vitality while it is still biologically active, hence the warm, slow steeping.
But because it is raw and full of that active vitality, Law 3 dictates immediate consumption.
You have to drink it right away.
Exactly. These perfectly coherent liquids degrade incredibly quickly once they are extracted from the plant. Their maximum vitality only exists for a window of minutes, maybe a few hours, if kept perfectly cold.
Yeah, that enzyme activation tonic, that strained raw cucumber juice, has to be consumed almost immediately.
You absolutely cannot meal prep this system. You can't make a huge batch of raw juices on Sunday and drink them out of the fridge on Thursday.
No way! The oxygen in the air begins oxidizing and degrading those raw enzymes the second they are pressed.
It's just so much work.
It is. But the complexity of preparation doesn't even stop there. Law 4 introduces separation awareness, which is crucial for the lipid field we discussed.
Oh, right, the emulsification.
Yeah, let's revisit that emulsified oil and water scenario. You blend cold-pressed oil, warm structured water, and perhaps a tiny bit of fully dissolved organic lecithin to bind them, creating a serum that looks exactly like milk.
Right, but what if I let that serum sit on the counter for 20 minutes and the oil separates and forms a ring floating at the top of the glass? Does that actually matter if I'm just going to drink it anyway?
According to Law 4, it matters entirely.
Seriously?
Yes. If it separates, it is no longer valid for consumption. It must be completely re-emulsified.
Wow.
The text's logic is that if the liquid separates into isolated elements in the glass, it will act as separated elements inside your body. You lose that continuous, uniform somatic field.
That is just wild.
The preparation is deeply meticulous because the physical state of the substance directly dictates the biological state of your body upon entry. Uniformity and stability are absolute requirements.
Okay, so assuming you have somehow managed to perfectly cold press, triple strain, and fully emulsify your organic ingredients without heating them up, exposing them to too much oxygen, or letting them separate.
A miracle in itself.
Right, how do you actually eat it? Because it turns out the method of intake is just as heavily regulated as the ingredients themselves.
The text outlines the somatic consumption method.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to just chug a glass of clarified green mineral infusion while driving in traffic on your way to work.
I kept thinking about the sheer practicality of this. Like, who has the time on a Tuesday morning for this level of deliberation?
Very few people.
The text demands continuous slow intake. But the part that really stopped me in my tracks is what they call the liquid sensing phase.
The sensing phase, yes.
When you take a sip of these meticulously crafted liquids, you are instructed to hold the liquid briefly in your mouth before swallowing. You don't just bypass the sensory experience simply because there is nothing to physically chew.
You hold it there to observe your body's real-time response. It transforms consumption from a blind, mechanical habit into an active feedback loop.
That makes sense.
When we choose solid food, our brain is mostly focused on the mechanical act of grinding our teeth and the immediate, powerful burst of flavor from salt or sugar.
The loud wood chipper noise.
Exactly. When you remove the act of chewing entirely, you are left with pure sensation. You are sensing the electrical grid.
Like checking the connections.
Yeah. Does this triple-strained fruit elixir feel too stimulating? Does the clear amino broth feel grounding? Your body's immediate sensory reaction dictates the pace of your intake.
And the text builds an entire ethical layer around this deliberate, incredibly mindful way of consuming. The source frames this as the least harm principle.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the system defines the most loving approach to sustenance as causing zero harm to animals and minimal harm to plant systems.
So no factory farming, obviously.
Oh, not even close. It demands regenerative sourcing and absolutely no industrial processing chains. When you spend hours slowly steeping and triple straining organic plants, and then you hold that liquid in your mouth to literally sense its vitality, food completely stops being an extraction from nature.
It becomes a participation.
A true participation with it, yes. You are showing a profound, almost reverent respect for the origin of the substance.
So what does this all mean? We've talked about abandoning the wood chipper. We've talked about filtering out every microscopic piece of pulp, monitoring thermal distortion, and sensing the electrical grid of our bodies.
It's a lot.
All of this extreme effort, all of this profound respect for the substance. What does it actually do for you? What is the promised biological payoff of living in this frictionless state?
Well, the source outlines very specific system effects when this coherence standard is followed strictly.
Okay.
Physically, the most obvious and immediate outcome is a drastically reduced digestive load. Because you are no longer expending massive amounts of physiological energy dismantling solid matter, your hydration efficiency skyrockets.
That makes a lot of sense.
The body absorbs the water and minerals instantly. And because of the careful, deliberate balancing of the diluted glucose and emulsified lipid fields, you experience truly stabilized energy.
No 2 p.m. crash.
Exactly. It is described as a flat line of sustained power, completely eliminating the spikes and crashes associated with a normal diet.
Neurologically, the text promises increased clarity and a complete reduction in heaviness or brain fog.
Right.
Which makes complete biological sense. I mean, if your parasympathetic nervous system isn't shunting all of your blood and available energy to your stomach to deal with a heavy, solid meal, your brain simply has more oxygen and resources available to function at its highest capacity.
But what's fascinating here is the ultimate goal of the entire cookbook. It's the somatic effect.
Right, the state shift.
It aims to produce a state of heightened internal awareness and continuous bodily coherence.
And that brings us right back to the closing structure of the source text. It
Yeah.
explicitly states, this system is not a diet. It is a state shift.
A state shift.
It is moving from interruption to continuity, from breakdown to absorption, from episodic consumption to seamless integration.
The goal is not restriction, even though the rules seem incredibly restrictive from the outside looking in.
Oh, they seem impossible.
They do. But the true goal is the complete and total removal of friction between the substance and the self.
And I think that is the big takeaway for you listening today. Whether or not you ever actually decide to triple strain your fruit juice or completely give up the mechanical act of chewing, the Somatic Liquid Only Cookbook forces us to look at the friction in our own daily habits.
It really makes you evaluate things.
It does. How much of what we consume, whether it's food, media, or energy, is an interruption to our baseline systems? How often are we treating our own bodies like industrial wood chippers instead of delicate, highly conductive grids?
It is a radical reframing of our relationship with the outside world, and it leaves us with a truly profound, almost philosophical question to consider.
Oh, definitely.
Well, If solid food creates a physical friction that constantly reminds your brain that you and your environment are separate, distinct things,
Yeah.
does achieving this perfectly continuous, frictionless state begin to blur the boundary of where the outside world ends and your own body begins?
Man, that's a heavy thought. If there is zero resistance upon entry, maybe you aren't just taking the world inside of you. Maybe you are genuinely becoming continuous with it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep questioning your assumptions, and we will see you next time.